Hi crafty friends, working in my scrappy art journal today. When I made this journal, I didn't plan it too well. I put way too many pages over 2 signatures, and it is now starting to cause a bit of a problem. The first signature is really chunky, so now we have this when we're trying to work in the end part of the book. The center area is quite high, so you can't get a really smooth finish or transition from one page to the other. So what I thought to do is to try and thin out the second signature a bit. I can't just tear out the page because then the corresponding page at the beginning of the journal where the artwork is on will just fall out. So I'm tearing it with about 1 centimeter or 2 left in the spine area to help support the existing pages. I'm then going to use a piece of masking tape to secure that to the larger page. When I make my next scrappy art journal, I will put less pages in each signature. That should prevent this problem. I'm going to trim off the excess and then I'm going to apply a second piece of masking tape. You can use any kind of tape. I prefer masking tape because it covers well with any kind of Mod Podge or gesso and actually makes great texture if it happens to shine through in your work. A lot of times I use it as part of my collaging. Applying the second piece of masking tape, I'm going to cut that a bit larger and wrap the ends around to the other side. I'll have to see what I'm going to do with the second signature, but for now, let's start some mixed media on this page. I'm just going to start by collecting some pieces that I want to use. I'm going for more a neutral tone for this piece, and I'm just finding things around my desk and from bits from other projects that I've recently worked on. I have a couple of stickers, anything that's in neutral tones. I also have some of this printed tissue paper, which is from my ArtStacks kit. I also have the little spotty napkins with the gold, which I really like, but I probably won't use in this one. And then some little bits and bobs, whatever I can find. I first collect everything and then I'm going to start sticking. I always collect more that I'm going to use so I have more options. And now I'm going to start sticking things down. I'm going to use a glue stick for this part. I like the rough edges, so I'm tearing the edges where I can, especially if they're going to show. This tissue paper is available in my ArtStacks kit. I'll put a link in the description box below. The craft paper on the left was from a spiral book, and you can see the little spiral tabs that are left over on the left. I didn't cover those up because I love those to show. I think it adds interest to any project. I find collaging very therapeutic and I could do it for hours. A great way to create master boards which you can later cut up and create tags or other embellishments. A good way also to get rid of scraps and bits and pieces that you wouldn't use in any other project. I'm now going to stick a few pieces of masking tape over some of the collaging. This is to keep some of the pages or pieces down, but also aesthetically I like the way it looks. I'm now going to add some gesso just over some of the areas. I'm not going to cover the entire surface with thick gesso. I'm applying a light layer and spreading it out with my finger, mainly concentrating on the edges where the two papers meet. I feel this joins all the collage pieces into one, so it makes the background one piece and they're not all just sticking out separately. This is a personal preference. I just like that softer look in the background, but you most certainly don't have to use gesso like this. You can leave the collage pieces as is. I'm now going to add some white watered down acrylic paint just to lighten the page. I'm putting a little bit on the edge of the top page and then using my spray bottle to spray water and allowing it all to run down. It's creating a beautiful effect and a really great contrast. And while I have the acrylic paint handy, I'm going to do some white splatter too. I find a fan paintbrush like this works best, but any small paintbrush will work for splatter. I've used a lot of water, so I'm going to dry that well, as the water would have absorbed through the pages. I have this cute little craft colored envelope that I want to use in my journal today as a focal point. I don't want it to look like an envelope so much. I want it just to hold a card. So I'm tearing off the top and I'm tearing a chunk out the side. I'm going to create a little tag that's going to go inside the envelope. I'm using this beautiful green, which I think complements the neutral tones really well. I'm going to measure roughly and just tear with my ruler. I like the rough edges. And then I'm going to stick two pieces together so that it is a little bit sturdier and that both sides are green. I'm also going to use my corner punch for the two bottom corners so it's easier to get in and out the little envelope. I love that when you put it inside the little envelope, you can see the bottom right hand corner sticking out. I think that looks really cute. I'm going to use the torn piece that is the top of the envelope on the right hand side somewhere. First, I'm going to attach some double-sided tape onto my envelope so it's ready to stick down. I'm feeling I need a little bit more green. So I have this napkin that I've used before in other projects that I really love. I'm going to cut out some of the leaves and stick those on the left, just under where the envelope's going to go, and then somewhere on the right to create a balance. It's a really soft design, so it's not overpowering, but brings that pop of color. Once I've decided where it's going to go, I'm going to lift the top layer as we want it as transparent as possible, and I'm going to stick this down with Mod Podge. I'm also going to add a layer of Mod Podge over the top of the napkin just to make it a little bit more strong so it doesn't tear easily. Then just a tiny bit more gesso on the one edge just to blend in that white tissue paper into the background. And then on the left hand side I did the same, put a little bit too much, but that's okay. I added some water over the gesso while it's still wet and then just dabbed it with the tissue and it lifts up the gesso. Most things are fixable in mixed media art. I'm now going to stick down my little craft envelope with my green tag. Found this leftover piece of tissue paper that I want to add somewhere, so I'm just going to stick that down at the bottom. I find Mod Podge best for putting down tissue paper, or you can also use a glue stick, whatever you prefer. I'm loving this vintage style sticker. I'm going to cut out the one number and put that on the envelope on the bottom left hand corner. And then I'm going to use the other piece that's left over as a tab on the right hand side. Also using the piece of leftover envelope, I'm going to stick that down underneath where the sticker is going to go to create a tab of sorts and add a bit more interest on the right page. I'm going to add a small sentiment on my little tag that you can only see when you lift out of the envelope. Of course, you can handwrite this or even put a little photo. I want to add one more thing for contrast. So I'm covering everything except the envelope, and I'm going to put some black splatter, just a small amount, over just the envelope part. For this, I'm using watered down black acrylic paint. I really hope you enjoyed this video and were inspired to create your own spread. If you'd like to make a scrappy art journal like this, I'll put a link to the tutorial in the description box below. Just remember to put fewer pages. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.